All right. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I don't want to keep you guys any longer than we have you. Um, and so today's webinar, we're going to kind of go over what we would consider tips and tricks of using the billing within Therap for non-specialized providers. Now, we're gonna go kind of through the process, but again, we're kind of showing you different tips and tricks. I'm going to show you different things like how you can change services from the attendance screen, how you can enter multiple days at one time or from one screen, how to update your attendance, and how to enter in all your non-billable days or all the days that you didn't work at one time. And then we'll look a little bit on the claim side, and then we'll show you how to pull explanation of benefits, which a lot of people are referring to as their pay stub. So we'll cover quite a bit today. But again, we'll go through the process, but we're not going to go step by step. We're really just here to show you kind of tips and tricks. Please definitely, again, in that chat to the right, chat any questions that you have. We'll go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to show you is how you can switch services relatively easy when you're documenting your attendance. So as you can see here, and hopefully you guys can all see my screen, you're going to see I'm already logged in and I'm at my billing tab. So the first thing we're going to do is again show you kind of how you can switch services. So from the attendance, I'm going to hit new. All right. I can enter my day, and let's say I'm going to enter November 29th. So I just went back to November 29th. Now remember, you can click this calendar and use the calendar, or you can also click in here and type. So you can do either way to enter in that date. I'm going to choose our attendance type. And again, just as a reminder, some of you may only have hourly, some may have daily, some may have both. It really depends upon what services you provide or what you're authorized to provide. So, if you only see hourly on yours, that's okay. It's reflective of the services that you have been authorized to provide. Now, I'm going to choose hourly. I'm going to choose my service and then my program. When I say switch services from the attendance screen, I mean switching these codes. So, I might document my community living and day support, but then I also need to document my respite. I'm going to show you how you can switch between these within the attendance screen. Now, just know that you can only switch between attendance types. What I mean by that is if you choose hourly, you'll be able to switch between your hourly. If you choose daily, you'll be able to switch between your daily types. Okay? I'll show you a little quick trick on how you can change from hourly to daily in just a moment. One other trick is this optional can be really handy if you're really looking at documenting one individual's time or the time that you provided service for an individual. So if you work with multiple clients and you really just want one individual to show up, you can just type their name here. So I'll type Calvin because I just want Calvin Coolidge to show up. If you only work with one client, that is not necessary. You don't need to enter a name because when you hit search, only that one individual will show up. So I'll hit search, and we're at our input stage. So here's the 29th. And just to review, I'm going to document that I provided services here on the 29th. So I'm going to click on the day. So I clicked on the day. It then gives me a comment option. So the 29th for Calvin Coolidge, my attendance option is up here. I'm going to choose present because I provided services. So just remember, present is we provided services. And so I choose the P or the present and for this day, and then I'm going to enter my time in, time out. Now, you can click on the time in, time out box and use the scroll up and down, or you can type. All right, either way, I recommend typing just because when you scroll, it's every minute. And when you're typing, you can just simply type what time it is. So let's just say it was from 8 a.m. And as you see, there's a little trick. I can just put 8A and it just fills out 8 a.m. for you. All right, and we'll say it was 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. All right, so I'm stating that on the 29th, I provided services from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then I'm going to click in this comment box, and this is where you're going to document what did we do during that time period. Okay, and this is replacing your record of service. So what did we do? All right, and I'm just going to document something brief here. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So I've documented my necessary things, present, your provided services for that day, my time in, time out. All right. Now you have the ability to choose service provider. Okay. Not necessarily required, because when you are submitting this, they know it is coming from you. So they know you're the one providing the services because your account is designated just for you as a person. So if you don't put the service provider, they're still going to know who provided that service as it's coming from your account. All right. So I've entered the necessary things. All right. I'm now just going to go to the bottom and click Submit New. All right. So that's something we're all used to at this point, and it'll tell us it's successfully saved. All right. One other thing before I show you how to change services, sometimes we get asked, well, how do I enter multiple times? What I mean by that is on the 29th, I did work 8 to 10 a.m., but I also worked 1 to 2:30. All right. How do I enter in that multiple time entry for that day? Well, now that I've submitted the first time entry, 8 to 10 a.m., I now can come in and enter an additional time or additional times. How you're going to do that is you're going to click on that attendance option. All right, so just the P. And it should always be a P because you provided service now, unless you're updating, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the P. That brings me to my attendance data update. What you'll see is my comment or what we did from 8 to 10, and then the ability to add a time in, time out. All right, so to add additional time in, time out, I'm just going to click here, and it will take me to the top, but then it gives me the ability to enter in the next time that I worked. And again, you could scroll or type. I'm going to type. I tend to think it works faster. All right, so I was able to document that I worked from 1 p.m. to 2:30. All right, now you have to remember, if you're adding additional time, to make sure to document what you did, and those for me, in my case, the next that next hour and a half. Now, what they'd like you to do is either put like asterisks or dashes, something to signify that this is for the first time entry, and then my next comment is what did we do in the afternoon, and maybe we went to the laundromat and did laundry. Okay. So just remember, when you're updating your additional time, update also what you did during that time. Now, you can enter in as many time in and time outs during that day as you have, right? And you can do all that from right here. Once you enter that information, you're going to go down to the bottom and click Update. And you'll notice once I click Update, it takes me back to my attendance screen, but you don't have to do anything else at this point, because you can see when I hover over that clock that it has both of my time entries. And when I click on the comment, it has exactly what we did for that day. All right. So what that's a trick of just entering in that multiple time slot for that day. Now that I've entered in my documentation, and you can see the code up here for my CLDS or my 9539, I need to maybe enter in my documentation for another hourly service that I provided. You can quickly just do that by coming over here to this change service, clicking the drop down, and you'll see my hourly services show up. So I can now go ahead and choose what other service do I want to document on. And so I could choose hourly. It's going to give you this message. Are you sure you want to change this service? I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And just like that, we are now able to document for that same day, the 29th, but now for my other service. Okay, so I'm at my respite. And then I just go ahead and continue the process. So for the 29th, I'm going to just say it was present. We provided services, my time in and my time out. Oops, sorry guys. And all right. And then I would document my record of service. All right. And then you'll notice I've entered that present, that time in, time out. I can go to the bottom and hit Submit New. And we've now documented on 2 services without ever having to leave the attendance screen. All right. So that's how you enter in multiple time slots and also how you change services. Any questions there before we move on over to how do we document multiple days at a time, as opposed to what you see right now, entering 1 day at a time? Any questions there before we move on to that? And we'll give you just a minute. If you just joined us, again, just make sure to document or type in that chat option box any questions that you might have. All right. Don't see any questions coming in quite yet. Again, if you're just still typing, go ahead and complete that. As soon as it comes in, we'll address it, and we'll come back to anything that we need to. So I'm just going to head back to the dashboard. So that's how you can switch services from the attendance screen. The next thing is, maybe you didn't want to write or enter in your attendance, just for a day at a time. You want to enter multiple days from one screen. So how you enter attendance for multiple days is, again, from your billing tab. Next to attendance, instead of clicking new, I'm going to go ahead and click search. All right. Once I click search, you'll see the start date, end date. You're going to want to put your date range in there. So if I'm billing for the month, I can put the month. In today's example, I'm going to say I'm billing for a 2-week period. Okay. So we're going to say it's the last 2 weeks of November. So November 16th to November 30th. All right. And I put my date range. So again, if you're billing the whole month, put the entire month, November 1st to the 30th. If you're doing, 2 weeks, put the 2 weeks that you're entering. Then again, I'm going to choose my hourly, and again, this is the same. Okay, my program. Then I'll hit search. Now what you'll see is that it takes us to the attendance screen. However, it automatically will take you to the update screen. All right. I have some information already entered, but to enter more data or to enter, data on multiple days, and what you'll see here is I have more than one day. So earlier you saw just the 29th. Because I put the date range of the 16th through the 30th, you see we start with the 16th. If I go down to the bottom here with the scroll bar, I can move over and it will go till the 30th. All right, now we entered that 29th today. So to enter data for multiple days, you'll do the search, but one thing you want to make sure is you're not going to want to be on the update tab where it will take you originally. You're going to want to click on the input tab. Now, once you click on the input tab, you're going to then be able to document your attendance here from the input tab. So once I clicked on the input tab, what you'll then notice is that I have multiple days now that I can start documenting or inputting that attendance. All right. So how you're going to enter in your attendance is the same as you always have. It's just now it gives you the ability to document multiple days from one screen. So today, let's enter 2 times together. So let's say on Monday, I provided services. So when you have multiple days, make sure to click the day and the individual. All right. And then I'm going to say I provided services. So present, I provided services, present for Monday. And then what time? And we'll just say maybe 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Okay? And again, putting my service provider and the date. Now I'm going to go ahead and, just like you saw earlier, put my record of service, or what did I do? All right, I'll hit OK. So I have everything filled out. And again, because I clicked the 21st, all this information will only be applied to the 21st. So I've documented that. I can go to the bottom, hit Submit New, and you'll notice it's now entered in that information on the 21st. Okay? So I've entered the 21st. I can now go enter another day, and maybe it was Wednesday I worked. So I can click the Wednesday. Again, that I provided the service, and it's just a repeat of the process. Okay? But as you see, it's a lot easier to document multiple days because you don't have to go to the dashboard, go do the search, or go to the new. You can just come to one area and enter in your entire month or entire time period from one screen. Okay? So you'll see I come down here and I'll hit Submit New, and I've now documented 2 days. All right, so I've documented the 21st and the 23rd. I can continue and document any other days that I worked. All right, so that is how you'll really document multiple days at a time. And again, you can change services once you're done. So if I documented this entire 2 weeks for my CLDS, I can then go to the respite and document on that. Now, does anybody have questions on how to document multiple days? Really handy, especially once you kind of figure out how to enter that attendance. Again, it's just one screen and you can enter it all from here. All right. Don't see any questions quite coming in yet. Again, if you're typing those, please finish typing them and we'll address them as soon as they come in. But that is, a tip on how to enter in multiple days. The next thing we're going to want to then discuss is how to update attendance. So you've entered attendance and you need to update or fix something about it. All right. So I'm going to start from the dashboard because I like to start everything from the beginning as if you guys were just logging in. Okay. And hopefully what you're seeing that there's the same steps to do a lot of different things. So it's not that you have to do a lot of different things to get to the attendance screen, but once you get there, it'll allow you to do what you need to do. So to update any attendance information from billing and attendance, again, next to attendance, I'm going to click search. Okay, so I click search, put the time period I want, and I'm going to go back to those last 2 weeks of November, so the 16th to the 30th, choose my hourly, my code, and then my program. Okay, and then I'll hit search. Now, once you hit search, it will automatically take you to where you want to be. All right, it'll take you to the update tab. So from here, you're able to update any of the information that you need. And it will look very familiar to you because you saw kind of how you do it a little bit earlier. So I can update any of the information I need. So I can go over and maybe on the 21st, I put 6 to 8 a.m., but I really work till 8:30. And I forgot to document that 30 minutes. Well, to do any update, whether that's taking away time, or adding comments, you click here on the P, just like you saw earlier. It'll bring you to that attendance data update. And then you make what changes you need. If you need to change the attendance type, maybe you put present and you were actually not scheduled. You can update your comments. But today in our example, we work till 8:30. So I want to make sure to update my time. All right. So 6 to 8:30, I've got what I did. I've updated my time. All you have to do once you update that information, whether you need to add a time in, time out, once you've updated it the way you needed, you just click update, and that is how you'll update your information. And you'll now notice when I go over to the 21st, that it is now from 6 to 8:30. Okay. And I would just be able to go through and update any of the days that I documented and any of the information I needed to. Okay. I want to show you maybe one more case of updating where maybe I entered information and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I didn't provide services that day. So at this point, and again, remember, we haven't generated any billing. We'll talk about claims towards the end of this call. But I just want to update this. So maybe I didn't provide services on the 16th. I could click on the P. I'll update it. I'm going to delete this because we didn't do anything. And then to your times, you can just go to the right, this little trash can. Click the trash can. It'll say, do you want to delete this time in, time out? I'm going to go ahead. Yes. All right. And then the last thing is this attendance option. I'm going to take it from present to not scheduled. I did not provide services that day. So as you see, I can update that way as well. And it's just going to tell you that it contains 0 time slot. So you won't be creating a billable unit, which is okay. We didn't provide services this day. So I hit yes. And you'll now notice it's updated that information. So to do the update, you just attendance search, put your time period. Once you get here, select the option, and then you can document or change any of that information. All right. Does anybody have any questions about updating your attendance data? The next thing, we'll talk about the next steps, approving and generating the billing, and how you can enter in all your non-billable units at one time. That's going to kind of be our next focus. But again, utilizing that search coming in here and updating that information. All right. Don't see any questions coming in. So now we'll kind of look through the rest of the process. Now, again, I could do what we're going to do from here, but I just like to start from the dashboard as if you just logged in to the account. Okay. So from the dashboard, the next thing is we're going to go through the rest of the process. So I've entered in my attendance. I've entered my days that I worked. I'm ready to approve it and generate it. So again, from billing and attendance, I'm going to go to the right and click search. All right. I'm going to put that 2-week period again. Hopefully a lot of this is looking very familiar. Hourly, 9539, my program, and then I'll do search. Okay. So I know I've entered in the days that I worked. All right. And I'm ready to approve it. So I'm going to click on my Approve tab. All right. Now, when you're approving your information, you want to look it over. Well, that brings us to the attendance detail report. All right. That is to the left of the individual's name. You're going to see kind of this icon with an X in it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. That's going to open up our attendance. All right. And what it will do is it will show you all of your entries. So it will show you every day that you've entered, that you worked, that you didn't work. Okay. Because as you see for the 16th, we updated that with zeros. Gives us our time in, time out. So I worked the 18th, the 21st, 23rd, 29th, and 30th. It gives me my total hours in units. Okay. And then what we did. All right. Well, that's right. Those are the days I worked. I worked the 18th, 21st, 23rd, 29th, and 30th. Those are the right times. Okay. From this screen, you can just exit out or hit this minus. And what it will do is it will take you right back to there. So I've looked over my information. I made sure it was correct. I'm ready to approve it. I'm going to go to the left of the individual's name. It will select all days with attendance data. So all the days that have some kind of attendance data entered will be selected as you see there. Okay. I then can click approve. Once I click approve, all of that will turn green. All right. So if you look at this color code, and this is kind of where I bring up this tip, is it kind of goes through the process. So we were blue, we were in prep, now we've approved everything, it's green. Okay. The next step would be submitting our billing. Now I purposely left this error here so everybody could see it because maybe some of you are running into this from time to time. So now I've approved my billing, all my days I worked are entered. I'm going to go generate billing, but I'm going to receive an error. What I mean by error is you're going to notice that I cannot select that box to the left of their name. There's a little yellow triangle. All right. When I click on it, it will tell me what the error is. And it's just telling you that there's unapproved or blanked or billed attendance data found between the start and end date of the attendance grid. What that means is for the 2 weeks I'm billing or the month I'm billing, I've got blanks. Okay. You cannot generate your billing for that time period with any blanks. What that means is you do have to document the days that you did not work, okay? And I'm going to show you here how you can do all those in one entry, so you don't have to come in and enter every day single-handedly, all right? So remember that. Everything has to be filled in for that time period, and it has to be approved. So I need to enter in all those other days I didn't work because, again, we've already entered the days that we did. So all I have to do is click on this Input tab, okay? And what you're going to see is all the days that didn't have an entry have a box. But I want to see the days that I've already entered. You can click here, a little tip, approved, and it will show you everything that's been approved. Okay? So it's just showing me all the days that I did work. All right? And again, from my record of service or my attendance detail report, I verified that I've already entered in all the times that I worked. So go in, enter all the days that you worked, and then at the end of the month or the end of those 2 weeks, you can come in and enter all the days that you didn't work in one time, and this is how you'll do it. Since I've entered all the days that I've worked, I can click to the left of their name, that checkbox. What it will do is it will check all the days that don't have data, okay? And again, we know these are the days that I didn't work, all right? So for all these days that are checked, I'm going to go to attendance option and choose not scheduled. I did not provide the service, okay? So not scheduled. I do not need to enter time in, time out because we didn't provide any services. And I do not need to document what we did because we didn't work that day. I didn't provide services. So it's just clicking to the left here, all right? Choosing not scheduled, and then going down to the bottom and hitting submit new. Once I do that, it's going to give me a little warning. It's going to say, hey, if you do not provide time in, time out, no billable unit will be calculated for the selected attendance data. Are you sure you want to continue? I am going to say yes. And all this is saying is for all these days that you have selected, which again, we all know that these are days that we didn't work, okay, that it's not going to create a billable unit. We're okay with that. We didn't work those days. We shouldn't be creating a billable unit. We shouldn't be being paid anything for those days. So I'm going to click yes. And what you'll notice in just 3 clicks, the left of their name, not scheduled, and submit, I've now documented all the days in between as not scheduled. Okay, so it really is a matter of 3 clicks at the end of the month or the end of your 2 weeks to enter in all those non-billable days. All right, and we're going to go through the rest of the process, but does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so now that we have entered in our attendance, we now know we need to go approve the rest of it. All right, so again, I'm going to click on approve. And I can't talk about it enough. Utilize this detailed report. So even though I know I looked at it earlier, I'm going to look at it again just to make sure one more time that my data is all there, all the days that I worked, because it's a lot easier to fix it here than after you build. So I'm going to click on this again. Here's my detail report. And now what you'll see is exactly what you want to see. For my 2-week period, I see every day is covered, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, all the way to the 30th. I can verify the days I worked because it shows the 18th and the times I worked, all right? If you have multiple time slots, you'll see like on the 29th, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 1 to 2:30, I have that information. The total units, yep, I worked 15 and a half hours for those 2 weeks, all right? And then what we did. That information's right. Now, I see that some are still in prep status. That's okay, because we're going to approve them. But what I wanted to make sure is that all of my days were entered and that the time in, time outs are accurate. Since they are, again, I'm just going to hit this minus or I can exit out. I come back. Again, we're on the approve tab, and I just verified that all the days I worked are entered. All the days I didn't work are entered correctly. I'm going to click this little select box to the left here. Think of this as selecting all. Okay, I click approve, and we've now approved all of our data. Okay, so it's all green. Final step then is generating our billing data. I click generate billing data. Now you'll notice that that triangle is gone. The reason is we have all days filled out, whether we didn't work or we did, and then we also have them approved. So you click to the left. I just go to the bottom. Generate billing. When you guys click this, before you get this successfully submitted for billing screen, you'll get a little message that's just verifying that the information that you're entering is the best to your ability, accurate. And then you'll get the successful submitted for billing, and you now have sent your attendance off for payment, and it's a great thing, and it's going to be processed for payment. So that's really the process, and some tips and tricks in terms of entering your attendance data. Before we move on, is there any questions on over any of that or something that you may have a question on that wasn't covered? The next thing we're going to look at is rejected claims, replacement claims, and then how you guys can kind of pull well, again, what we call explanation of benefits, EOBs, but you guys, a lot of people refer to it as your pay stub. Or I'm sorry, EOP, explanation of payment. All right. Don't see anything coming in. And so that's kind of that process. All right. So we're now going to shift over to the claim side. Okay. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a rejected claim. So, hey, I've got something rejected. Any rejected claim is going to show up on your to-do tab. Now, I have a service coordinator rejected. In most scenarios, this is you probably overbilled or billed over the amount you were authorized. So a couple scenarios. They might update the service off, in which you can submit this. But let's say I overbilled and I need to edit it to take away, a unit that I built. So I click on my work list. So right here, here's the claim. Take my mouse, I click. Okay. Here's your claim section. Now, a rejected claim means that it wasn't processed. It was rejected back before it was processed. So updating these are a little bit easier than updating a replacement claim. So again, just to show you again from the dashboard. Okay. And just to remind you again, just kind of why you might get a service coordinator rejected, it might be that, again, that you billed over the amounts that you were authorized. So just remember that you're providing only the hours that you're authorized, or that you reach out to the service coordinator before providing those services, and just making sure that, or the family is that you are authorized to provide those services before submitting it. But let's say you do submit it and it's over the authorized amount. Okay. Here, the rejected list, I click here. Here's the claim. You can click anywhere on this row, and it will take you to the professional claim. So in the claim, it's got some information, who's the individual, okay? But really what's important is this service line, okay? This is going to give you all the information that you really need. These are the dates of service. So this is the 2 weeks in November for this service. This is how many hours that I billed. So let's say I billed a half an hour over what I was supposed to. All right. So it's 8.5 hours. We should have only billed for 8. Okay. You just simply click on this billing data ID. All right. And it brings you to the billing data. Again, it gives you some information about the service authorization, service information. But you're going to go down to the billing data input. All right. And for this time period, I billed for 8.5 hours. I should have only billed for 8. I can just remove this and update it. All right. So you can update it less or more depending upon what the situation is. Okay. So I'm going to update my total billable units. This is the total units you should be paid for during this time. You don't want to make the difference. So I don't want to put like 0.5. I want to make sure that it's the total. So it was 8.5. I should have only billed for 8. So I put it down to 8. Okay. And when you see the remaining units, remember that this is not for the month. This is for the entire service authorization. Okay? So when you see this, this doesn't mean the remaining units you have for this month. It's for the entire year or however long time period is, duration that you've been authorized to provide services. All right? So I've updated my billable unit to 8. All right? One last thing is you're going to have to comment. And all you do in this comment is document why you're changing that. Okay, and I could document more, maybe I accidentally overbilled. Just why are we making that change? Okay, and then once I get here, I'm going to click update. Now, once you click update, it's going to give you this message. And what that message is going to tell you that the billing data has been generated from attendance. Any change made to the billing data will not be reflected back to the attendance. What that means is this will update the claim and get you paid right, but you need to go make sure you go back to the attendance and update that information. And from earlier in this webinar, you now know how to go do that. Go to the attendance, do your search, go update that information. In this case, I would remove a half hour. Okay, but you need to make sure to go back to your attendance so your record of service is accurate. But this will update the claim and get you paid right. So I'm going to click yes. It's going to bring you here. There's one more step. So it's updated the claim successfully. I just want to click back, okay? And it will take you to the claim. All right, now let's say you didn't click back. When you're from your dashboard, it's still there. All right, you just updated it. So I'm going to click on it. Open it up. We're back at the claim. It gets you there two different ways. The main thing is I'm going to go down to my service line and I'm going to make sure my units is correct, and it is. It's 8 units as opposed to 8.5. So my update has taken place. And then I just simply go down to the bottom and click submit for approval. And once I do that, I have now taken care of that rejected claim. All right, I've updated the amounts to be accurate. Any questions on those rejected claims before we move forward? And I'm going to give you guys literally like a minute just in case somebody is typing something or a question that they have. All right, I don't see any questions coming in. So that's rejected claims. And just a reminder, this is being recorded. We will have the recorded webinar up, and I'll show you where it'll be. And we also have step-by-step guides that'll walk you through these processes. And I'll make sure you know where they are by the end of this call. So that's rejected claim. A lot easier to deal with, and you'll see it now has fallen off. All right, a lot easier to deal with than a replacement claim. Here's the sole difference, okay? A replacement claim is a claim that you generated your billing, it has been processed, okay? And so we need to make a change to it, but it's a claim that's been processed. A rejected claim, again, is something that was rejected prior to it being processed. So it's just an easier couple steps, but you're going to see some similarities in a moment. All right? So that was a rejected claim. Let's say we generated our billing, we sent it in, and it's been processed, but then we realized, oh no, I didn't bill for 2 hours that I worked, right? So you would need to do what we call a replacement claim. And again, the difference is it's something that's been processed, right? So how you're going to go about doing a replacement claim is from your billing tab. You're going to go to your professional claim, do a search, okay? I recommend these couple things. Enter the individual you're looking for. So I want Calvin Coolidge. And then I always recommend the service. So in this case, it's 9539. All right. And then the service dates. So what dates are we looking for? I'm looking for, all right, these dates in October. So let's say I'm going back to an October payment that has been processed. Okay. So you have the individual, the code, and service dates. I would recommend deleting the claim create date. The reason why is this really is the date that the claim was created. So if I have it a day like November and I did it before, it won't show up. So by deleting this, it'll look for all dates. The most important thing is that you have the service dates that you provided the service. Okay? And then one other thing. You're going to want to click on status. Now, you could potentially have two. Click on sent. Then I would also recommend clicking on paid. Okay, because those are two statuses they could potentially be in. I'm just going to hold on control on my keyboard and click. Okay, so then I have sent and paid. So control, keyboard, and click. So just to review, I put the individual, the code, the service date, and then I made sure to select those statuses. Okay, and the reason why I select those statuses, replacement claims can only be done to these that are in the status because, again, it has to have been processed. All right. Now, remember, if you entered in your billing today and generated it, you're going to have to give it a day or two before you can come to a replacement claim because it has to go through that processing. All right, so just give it a day or two from when you, at least from 2 or 3 days probably from when you generated it to come do this. I've entered in my search criteria. I hit search, and what you will then see is here's my claim. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. Now it's in sent status. Okay, so we have to do a couple things. One, we want to take it to what we call paid status. So how you're going to do that? And so let me just clarify. If you have one that is in paid status, it's already done this step. If you have one that's in sent status, you're just doing this step to get it to paid. All right. So here's sent. I go down to the bottom. And you really have one option to update the status. You're going to click on that. And what will show up is paid and then the amount. You don't need to change anything. You're saying that it's a paid claim and that the amount. You don't need to enter the amount because NFocus keeps a ledger of what it's paid out and what it has it. Okay, so I'm going to click update. When I click update, what we did there is we took our status from sent to paid. All right, so everybody that sees a paid status, this is where you begin. If you have sent, you just update the status to get here. All right, so that's the first step. Update the status to paid. All right, and again, replacement claims are only those on the ones that have been processed already. So I've updated it to paid. I then am going to update it as a replacement. What we're doing is, just to give you a little background, is we're changing the frequency type code. We're changing it from original to replacement. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. And again, you don't really have a lot of options. You have one, to update for replacement. You're going to click that. It's going to give you a message saying you are updating a paid/paid adjusted claim. Do you want to continue? Yes, we know we're adjusting a paid claim because it's been processed and we just need to update it to reflect accurate information. So I'm going to click OK. So we've updated it from sent to paid, and now it was from original to replacement. So it knows now this is replacing a prior claim. Your next duty then is to choose the reason for the replacement. So you click the drop down and choose what the reason is. In our case today is I'm billing for additional units that I didn't bill for original claim. So again, I forgot to bill for 2 hours on my original claim, so I'm trying to update that. So I'm choosing billing for additional units, not billed in the original claim. Okay? So replacement claim, billing for additional units, not in original claim. Go down to the bottom. And this is important. You're going to want to click update. Okay? Now, once you click update, it's going to tell you you've successfully updated the claim. Make sure to click back to claim form. All right? I know there's a couple screen changes, but you're doing something with every screen. And I'll show you what you did with this one. So I'm going to click back to claim form. And you'll see our status went from sent, paid, to now updating. Once you see updating, it is now like working with a rejection. So this is the same process as you just saw. So once I see updating, I can now update the claim. I come down to the bottom. Here's your service lines. I billed for 11 units. I should have billed for 13. So I'm going to come down here, click on my billing data ID. Brings you to your billing data. And just like you saw earlier, I'm just going down to my billing data input. Now, remember, you want it to be the total units you should have been paid for this time period. Okay? So just make sure that this is not the difference, but the total units. So for this time period, how many units should I have been paid for total? Yes, I know I need 2 more, but I'm not going to enter 2 here because that looks like you should have only been paid for 2. Okay? You're going to want to make sure to put 13. So I'm adding 2 to the 11. All right? So remember, this is the total amount of hours or units, whether it's daily or hourly, that you should be billed or that you're billing for this time period. Okay? And again, remaining units is remaining for the year or the entire authorization or whatever that duration. It could be 6 months. It depends. But for the entire authorization, not just for that month. And then again, I just had to put a comment. And then I can go into more detail about how I forgot to bill for those 2 hours. All right, I just click update. takes you back here. And again, remember, this is saying the billing data has been generated by attendance. Any change made to that billing data won't be reflected back to attendance. So again, after I update this, it will update the claim and get me paid right, but I need to go back and update my attendance and add those 2 hours so it reflects whenever a coordinator goes back and looks at your attendance record. One thing I didn't say, and I apologize for not saying this immediately, your coordinators or your service coordinators cannot see these claims. All right? So it's very important to remember that. They're going to go off your record of service, so just make sure that you're updating your attendance accurately. Okay, because they just don't have access to these claims. All right? So when you call your coordinator, they're not going to be able to see these things. All right? They can see your attendance detail report, so again, make sure that's accurate. Again, I'm going to hit yes. And remember, it'll tell you it's successfully updated, but we got one more step. Going to click back. All right? I'm going to go down to my service line, and I can verify that now my hours were 11, but now it's 13. So I've added those 2 additional hours. I go down to the bottom, click submit for approval, and you have now completed a replacement claim. All right? And hopefully you don't have to do that many of them, right? But if you do, that is the process of there. And again, I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide, and we will have this webinar recorded. It is recording. We had one last night. We'll get the best one uploaded, and you can look at them at your disposal. But that is rejection and replacement claims. I've got one more thing to cover with you before I kind of show you where all our help and support is. But any questions on that before we move forward? Just want to make sure we're giving you an opportunity there. All right, not seeing any questions come in. So next thing we're looking at is EOPs, what they were called, explanation of payments, right? Some people will call them EOBs or pay stubs. I've heard them referred to, but this is going to explain your payment. Okay, so from your billing tab, you have a remittance 835. Now, I do apologize. I'm not actually able to pull a real one. I'll show you a screenshot of what it will look like. So the 835, sorry, just was looking. I thought we had a question come in. The 835, I won't be able to show you because you actually have to have a real one, and obviously we would never want to use real information. Okay, so from the remittance 835, I'm going to go ahead and click search. Now, you don't have to enter much, but the upload date will automatically go back 6 months. So it can go a 6-month range of when that was uploaded. So it would give me, and in your guys' cases, it would go back to June, which would cover all we've done this year because it didn't start till July 1. You would click search, and then you'd be able to select your 835. What it will show up as is like this, okay? So I got a screenshot of just a fake person, okay? And it will show up, and as you see here, it has your name. This is just a review. You then can click like CSV report or PDF report, okay? PDF report will give you this in a PDF version. CSV will look like this, okay? So you'll see it'll give you all the information, your payee ID, your name, the check number, the date it was issued, the amount, who the individual was, all right? The amount you were paid, and then what service it was paid for. So you have the services you were paid for, the amount, who the individual was, the date it was issued. You'll have all this information, again, from doing the 835 report. Just one second. And so that's how you'll access that. Just one second. Got Pam Ann's just going to hop on in with just a little more information about that 835.
Good morning. Yes, I just wanted to point out that when you look at this 835, you look at your check and you think, well, that's less than what I submitted. you need to scroll over and find out if you had Medicare and your Social Security taken out of this check. That's a common question I get from our independent providers, and maybe this one doesn't have one of those, but there are specific services that require us to take out some of the taxes for you. So if it's less than, look at your EOP or your 835 to see if that was taken out of that check.
Thank you, Pam. And sorry, my example just doesn't have it, so wouldn't be able to show you there because again, it's just a demo one where taxes wouldn't have been taken care of. All right. Thanks again, Pam. So that's how you would choose or find your estimation of payments or again, information on the payment. With that being said, we got about 7 minutes, so I want to make sure to show you guys, and that really wraps us up. Just want to verify or show you guys where you guys can find help and support materials, okay? So from our website, all right, and if you don't know how to get here, the website is just www.therapservices.net, okay? And once you do that, it'll take you to our website. From here, you're going to want to click on Nebraska Non-Specialized Providers. Okay, so here's our website. You guys have a page designated just for us. Okay, so we're going to click right here, and we're now on the Nebraska Non-Specialized page. All right, brings me to my first point. If you're not able to log in, you forgot your password, you don't know your password, you can't log in with it. We at Therap are unable to update or give you that information. We don't have access to do that, nor do we have access to your login information. So if you have that, you'll want to come to this website, the Nebraska Non-Specialized Providers page, and right here is Forgot Password. Just simply click here, and it will it'll ask you to fill out this information, your name, provider number, phone, and email. And this will send to somebody at the state. They will get your password reset, and they'll contact you with that information. Okay? So again, if you can't log in, go to the Nebraska Law and Specialized Providers page, get your information reset, and they'll contact you with that information. All right? Well, let's say you're looking for step-by-step guides on what we covered today. All right? Also, here's any upcoming webinars. But here's our user guide. So let's say maybe you need help finding that EOP or 835. Here's download EOB report. I click it. As you see, these will give you a step-by-step guide with screenshots showing you what to click on and how to do it. All right. Let's say I need help with a replacement or a rejected claim. And really it goes in order from logging in to acknowledging service authorizations to documenting or entering attendance. So the claims, if I need help submitting a rejected claim, I click here. And again, you're going to notice that it gives you a step-by-step guide with screenshots. Okay. And again, here's replacement claims, all right, and then your attendance detail report. So you have guides for everything that we covered here today. Also, this webinar or the one last night will be recorded and uploaded. It will be entered or placed right here. Okay. So you always do have that available to you. With that being said, that kind of wraps up our webinar. But if anybody has any questions, definitely I'm going to hang on for another 4 minutes. Definitely type it in that chat box. I just want to say thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. We'll probably have a lot more events in the future. Please attend them. This will be recorded so you can utilize it at any time. But I just again want to appreciate your input and your attendance. If you don't have any questions, feel free to leave the webinar. I'm just going to hang around in case some people do. But again, thank you all for your time and have a good rest of your Friday.